everyone. Today we're making two soups, and I'm really excited because these soups you can make them however you like. This is just an inspiration. One of them is ginger carrot soup. The cream of carrot is a great opportunity for those of you who are struggling with appetite and maybe nausea, or maybe you guys don't feel like eating enough, especially for those of you who are undergoing a specific treatment. This soup is a great opportunity to add more calories. And as we go with the recipe, I will tell you what ingredients you can add onto that one. And then we have the quick chicken soup, which is great. We're just gonna just use a chicken breast, and we're gonna add a lot of aromatic herbs like celery, garlic, onions, and ginger, my favorite. Both recipes, we use similar ingredients so that you can mix and match and, use whatever you have in your kitchen. So let's jump into it. So first we're gonna prep the vegetables, and I'm going to start with the onions because they made me cry, and I just wanna do it and get over it, right? So we're gonna do onions. I'm gonna prep for both the chicken and the carrot soup, the cream of carrot. And I like to use a small onion for both. If you're making less, you can just use half of an onion. But this is about the size of the onion I like to use, usually about 1.5 cups of minced onions. So we took the top of the onion off and we took the root of the onion, and we're gonna cut it in half. These onions are a little flat, and so there is a different way that I cut them. Is if you follow us frequently, you'll know that I have a particular way of cutting onions. But this one, I'll show you how I do them. So we're gonna cut them in half. We're gonna take the first layer of the onion. Remember, because it's really slippery, you want to keep all of your fingers together in your hands. So perfect. And now, well, this one is not that flat, but I'll do the way that I'm gonna do this one because it's still, the shape is a little difficult. We're just gonna slice them vertically. I'm gonna move my hand so that you can see. I chop them, I slice them, and then I'll go over them like that. And that's it. And I have my chopped onion. Super easy. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna put them right here. I'm gonna put all the vegetables in this bowl. And if you see the size, it's like maybe 1/2 inch. Let's see if I have one. About 1/2 inch size. And that's because we want them to cook fast. We want the soups to cook fast, so we're cutting everything small. I'm crying already, guys. The faster you work with an onion, the less you'll cry. Also, if the onion is cold, that's also very helpful because all the acid in the root that makes you cry will be contained by the temperature. All right, I put these onions separate because I'm gonna use it for the chicken soup. So next we have fabulous garlic. We're gonna use these two or three, let's do 3, but you can use whatever your heart tells you. Garlic is really useful, especially it's great for your immune system, and it adds a lot of flavor. So we're gonna smash it. But I like to smash it all the way to the border of the cutting board to make sure I don't pinch my finger. So we're gonna press, and now I'm gonna slice. Make sure I'm hiding the tips of my fingers. And then we're gonna go on to mincing, which is important to put your your hands lightly touching the spine of the knife so that you can guide it. For this, you can just mince as little, you can just mince it as fine or as thick as you want. It's all going to be blended, especially for the carrot soup. For the chicken soup, I'm gonna put this here. We're gonna cook it down a little bit, so we're gonna make sure that that garlic flavor is gonna be in that soup. It's so good, guys. I wish you can taste it when I finish, but maybe one day soon when we can be all together in one room, you guys can taste what I'm making for you guys. For the soup, for the chicken soup. And this is ready to go. We're gonna grate the ginger. We're gonna use it for both, and I just wash it very well. We don't need to peel it. We're just gonna go ahead and grate it. So we're gonna grate it with all skin on. And you can put however much you want. I personally love ginger, but I know it could be very spicy for some of you. So you can put all from 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon. So a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons. So I think I have here about 2 tablespoons. You can use 1 to 2 potatoes for your soup and just cut it in chunks. I'm gonna cut them in half because these are smaller. My grandma used to get these potatoes and just throw them in the soup like that, but it takes more time and we want to save time today. Ready to go. For the celery, I'm gonna use the leaves. They add lots of flavor and it's very aromatic, which I love. When we get celery from the store, it can get dried up right here. So we're just gonna cut that off, that little part off, but we're gonna use everything. So I like to cut it in sections as you saw. I'm gonna take these out. And these are bigger. See, there are different sizes. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it in half. And this one, I'm gonna cut it in half. So we want them to be similar in size. And now we're gonna just make sure I'm gonna put them together like that. We cut them in a similar size so that they can all get cooked at the same time. Because if we have ones bigger than the other, one will be undercooked, the other will be overcooked. And so we want to make sure everything cooks at the same time. These, I just want to just mince it to add it for flavor at the end. These I'll use for garnish. And we're going to use 1 celery stalk for each soup. With the chicken soup, I want to have a little bit of each aromatic vegetable in each bite. So especially when you're eating soup and you have a nice cooked and wilty piece of celery, it's very soothing. I like that personally. So I'm gonna cut them smaller, and I also want to show you how to cut them smaller. So each section we'll cut it in half. All right, and then we put them together and we cut them sort of similar size. And I'm gonna put this here along with garlic, because I usually like to start with the aromatics first. Last but not least, we have our carrots. And it's important when you're peeling anything that you use the cutting board. Sometimes we just go and peel with our hands, and you can literally peel your finger tip off, and not to be not to scare you, but it really hurts. So to be safe, let's just use the cutting board. And so I like to go up and down to do it quickly. So we go like that, and we just move it. For the carrot soup, you could do 4 large carrots, and for the chicken soup, you can do 1 large carrot. But because I am doing less amount, because it's just me, I'm going to do 3 carrots for the carrot soup and 1 carrot for the chicken soup. It's really important to wash your hands very well before you start cooking anything. Safety first. And also vegetables, you just wash them very well with cold running water. I use a little brush, especially for potatoes and the carrots, a little brush to make sure we don't have any dirt or anything. With the chicken soup, we're gonna eat the pieces, we're gonna leave them whole. For the carrot soup, it doesn't really matter how you cut them as long as they're all the same size. You can do medium dice or small dice, but I like to do the roll cut because it looks very pretty, and you'll see. So I took the tip off, and I'm gonna take the bottom off. And we're gonna start by cutting in an angle, and we're gonna roll it. So if you see, I roll it, and right in the middle, sort of, not in the middle, so right at the end of the cut, we're gonna cut again. And we're gonna roll. Right at the end, we're gonna cut again. And we could keep doing that. And we try to do it so that they look similar size. And the key is to do it a little bit below that last cut that you did. And think to yourself, bite size. Bite size. This is how I practice. And the larger it keeps getting, the lower you keep going to make sure they're smaller in size. See how it looks? They're not uniform, but they have a nice shape to them. And we want them sort of to have the same thickness. And now we're gonna cut up the carrot for the carrot soup. This one, I'm gonna keep it like this because they're smaller. For this one is bigger, so we're gonna cut it in half. I'm just gonna cut this lemon in half to use it for our chicken soup. I'm gonna keep it right here. And we're ready to cook. But now we are gonna move on to cooking, and we're gonna start with the creamy ginger carrot soup. I'm excited. Now we're gonna start cooking the carrot soup. I have a few pots, but I wanted to do this in a sort of like shallow, not shallow, but like a saucepan, like a white saucepan, so that you can see that you can make soup. You don't need to have a really big pot. So we're gonna do that here. And I did my magic of TV version in a smaller saucepan. And you'll see how easy it is. And we're gonna start by adding some oil. We're gonna add about 2 teaspoons of olive oil. We're gonna add our celery, our onion, and our garlic. As soon as it hits the pan, you'll start smelling all the aromas. We're going to lower the heat to medium. We started on high heat, we're gonna lower it to medium, and we're gonna add our herbs. So I have here about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, and a mixture of Italian herbs. I think I have rosemary, parsley, and oregano. But you can use whatever herb you like. If you don't have a mix, you can just use oregano by itself or parsley by itself. Whatever you have at home. It's just to add another kick of flavor to the soup. And I like to add them at this point because the heat and the oil will wake up those flavors that we just added. We're gonna add, remember, here you can use your heart. I like ginger, but I'm saving for the chicken soup as well. So I'm adding about 2 teaspoons. I'll say this for chicken soup. And we're gonna mix that. And we're gonna add the star of our show, which is the carrots. I'm gonna use 2 cups of broth. We just wanna make sure that all the vegetables are covered with the liquid. This is a smaller portion again, but if I'm making these for 8 to 10 people, I will use 4 cups. But for this one, this is for 2 to 4. So I'm gonna use just 2 cups, and I use 2 cups of chicken broth. Again, if you wanna reduce the sodium, you can use 1 cup of broth and 1 cup of water. And we're gonna let it simmer. I'm gonna raise the heat so that you can see it simmer. And as soon as it's simmering, I like to cover it. And we're gonna let it cook for about 15 to 20 minutes until the carrots are soft. And it should look like this. I'm gonna blend all of this. It looks all cooked down. It looks yummy. I'm so hungry. And if it cooks down that you lose some of the broth, don't worry, because remember the carrot will be absorbed all that liquid, and as soon as you blend it, it's all gonna work out. If you need a little extra liquid, it's good to have a little extra broth or water to help yourself when you're blending it and to get the consistency that you want. So now we're gonna blend it. All right, so now this is a smaller amount of soup that I did just to show you how it looks like. We're gonna very carefully, you can also use an immersion blender to blend this and make it creamy. But with this, you have to be very careful because it's really hot and you can get splashed and burned, and we don't want that. So make sure that you're not directly in front of everything falling down in the blender. And be very careful because it can be really hot. You can also wait till it cools down, but if you're like me that you're super hungry, you need it right now. You make sure that you're very careful because it's really hot. So we're gonna put all of that in. Smells so good. I like to put a cover on it because it's really hot and it'll come right up and it could get burned. You can get burned. So make sure that you put something to hold up the liquids and we just blend. Now, to add more calories to this soup, you can add a little bit of cream. You can add a little bit of you even some half and half, a little bit of extra butter, even some cashews. You can add cashews there. Cashews are really high in calories. I want it a little bit more smoother, so I'm gonna add a little more liquid. I have some extra chicken stock, and I'm going to add a little bit of milk. I have here reduced fat milk, just a little bit. I think that's like 1/4 of a cup. So we blend again. Ready to eat it. I know I'm ready. Our cream of carrot. So yummy. So here we have our cream of ginger and carrots. I think I've changed the name like 10 times. But I promise this is so good and soothing. And it's a great opportunity for you to get hydrated, get some calories in, especially when you don't feel like eating that much or when you feel like you have a lot of nausea. And it's really tasty. I can't wait to eat it all. And like I said, you won't regret it. You can add some butternut squash to this, some pumpkin, any type of squash. It tastes really good. So I hope you enjoy it. And we're gonna make now the, the chicken soup. With the chicken soup, we're gonna start with chicken breast that I cut into cubes and I season it with a little bit of garlic powder, pepper, and a little bit of salt. I use about a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and black pepper. We're gonna add it to the pan and we're gonna make sure that all the pieces are touching the hot surface. We're gonna let them cook there for a little bit of time. If you saw, we didn't add a lot of oil because what we need for chicken not to stick to the pan is a hot surface. We're gonna let them sit there. It's not good to start mixing right away or anything because then that's when we get things stuck to the pan or to the pot. I think a nice minute has passed. We need to make sure the chicken is well cooked before we add the rest of the ingredients, especially the veggies. So now we're gonna add the vegetables that are going to take longer to cook. So we're gonna start with the potatoes. I'm gonna add in some aromatics like onion and remember our celery, garlic, carrot. Now the herbs. So for the herbs, you can use oregano, rosemary, parsley, using about a teaspoon of a mixture of parsley and oregano, about a teaspoon. I'm gonna add some black pepper, just like a pinch. And if you would like, you can add some oil. I like to use olive oil, but I want to keep it very low in fat.
especially for when you're having, a lot of issues with diarrhea or vomiting. It's really good to limit the fat intake. So we're gonna add I forgot about the ginger. I'm gonna throw it right there. And we are going to add the broth. So remember, this is a smaller portion because it's just for myself. Um, so I'm gonna use about 3 cups. I'm gonna add 3 cups of chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth. Again, you can use half broth, half water. And this one has a little bit more than the carrot soup because we're gonna have the broth. We're not gonna blend it. You'll see how soothing this one is. I'm gonna add a little bit more. Until the potatoes are ready to go, are soft, the carrots are soft, and everything is soft. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt, maybe like 1/4 teaspoon more. And give it a nice mix. I'm gonna cover it and we're gonna let it cook for 15 to 20 minutes or until the potatoes are soft. I'm gonna add that extra minced parsley. I'm gonna add a little bit of lemon. So I hope you make these 2 recipes. I hope you enjoy them. They're really, really great, super easy, simple, with things that probably you already have at home. So I hope you make them. And if you have any questions after this, we're going to be live right after. So stay tuned and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.